And there we are. We are live on the YouTubes. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. Appreciate each and every one of you. My name, of course, is Seth. Thank you guys for popping back on with us here again, as we do each and every Tuesday night. We've got a tremendous show tonight. As you can see, it is just Jacob and myself tonight. Earl decided to take the night off, which is perfectly okay. You know, that's one of the benefits of having a three-chair show. Should one of us need to take a night off, we can do that. We can do that. We can bring someone else in if we need to. But other than I think the only issue might be is if I'm not here, going the whole YouTube thing. But other than that, I mean, it works out if we need to take a break or have a night off for whatever reason. Um, so much to get to, so much to talk to. Uh, so thank you guys again so much for being here. As always, you can check us, here live on YouTube every night at 9 or every Tuesday night at 9:30, and then the podcast does go live later in the week. Great weekend for New Mexico United. A lot of news, a lot of MLS news. We're definitely gonna get into that tonight. So, Jacob, as long as you are ready, we will get right into the show.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm putting the Facebook post out there so that we can hopefully get some people in the chat, and it should be fun.
There we go. Welcome back to another episode of Somos Mas, the official podcast of Somos Mas NM, and your source for the latest news and notes on New Mexico United, as well as the occasional weekly sports discussion from the biggest news stories from around the world of sports. We haven't really done too much of that lately, but we do have a massive story that dropped over the weekend, or actually probably the last 48 hours, I believe it is, and so we're going to get to that. We're going to talk some MLS. We're going to talk how it affects the USL Championship, as well as the rest of the U.S. soccer pyramid. And before we get too far into tonight's show, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming into YouTube, hanging out with us as we record. As always, if you are here with us live on YouTube, you can, of course, put your questions and comments in the chat. Jacob and I will get to those, and we will address your comments and questions throughout the show. And then you'll be helping us make history, helping us make our show as we do every week. And I did check on the YouTube. We have had a couple new subscribers to the channel, so a big shout out and thank you to where'd my names go? Shayna Begay, Tina Berglund, and Harry Austin. You guys know Harry, of course, from Twitter. So thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. By doing so, you do find out when we go live on Tuesday nights. And appreciate each and every one of you for all the support that you've shown us with it through everything that we do. And we've got a whole lot to get to tonight. And I want to start off with Jacob. One burning question for you.
I'm never ready for these, and I'm always ready for these. If that makes any sense.
It does. It does actually. You look forward to it, but you have no idea what's coming. I don't give you guys any sort of prep time for this, so it's always good to get a little bit of reaction with these. So, burning question of the week. We are now a quarter of the way through the USL Championship season. What has been your biggest surprise so far?
Oh, for us, or in USL in general?
USL in general. It can be anything.
There hasn't really been anything that really sticks out. I think San Diego's slow start would have been the answer, but they've kind of come back and been strong. They beat Phoenix over the weekend. If you scroll through the divisions, it's pretty much chalk. And I almost forgot this, but after pulling up the page and looking at the standings, I don't know how the answer can't be RGV sitting atop of the Mountain Division for I don't think much longer. They have a game. We have a game in hand on them, and El Paso has 2 games in hand on them. And us and El Paso are both right there. If we win our next one, then we'll have 17 points through 9 games, just like RGV does right now. If El Paso wins either of their next 2, they'll be sitting at 18 points through 8 or 9 games. So But that doesn't take away from what RGV has done so far: 5 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, um, and you just can't. Nobody would have predicted that. We dang sure didn't. So yeah, I don't know how it's not RGV. I could go San Antonio being bad because I think they are bad, but I'll stick to the positive side and say RGV being top of the division and looks like they're going to be at least a playoff contender for sure.
Yeah, RGV is one of those clubs that, you know, did basically come out of nowhere. And it's not something that we see a lot of. And like you said, we didn't expect RGV to be this good. I'm not even convinced that like the guys that do the Down in the Valley podcast, like, you know, Edson Ochoa and those guys, I don't think they expected it. Expect them to be this good. So yeah, they've been a pleasant surprise. It's nice to see them being competitive. You mentioned San Antonio possibly being bad. I know if you talk to the San Antonio Twitter, they are not particularly fond of the way their season is going thus far. And so
and they shouldn't be. They have 11 points through 9 matches and are on a 5-game winless streak. Yeah. Granted, there's 4 1-1 draws in there, but a 1-1 draw has to be the worst draw. Like, if it's 0-0, if it's 0-0, then you're like, oh, okay, we got a clean sheet. If it's 2-2, you're like, all right, the offense is clicking. But 1-1s, it's like, well, we didn't get a clean sheet. We only got 1 point out of this, and we only scored a goal, and probably should have had more. So I don't blame San Antonio fans for being upset because they and not only results based, like if you just watch their game, like when we talk about the United game from last Wednesday, and then I watched San Antonio again over the weekend, they just don't look good.
Yeah, they really don't. And I know that they did play again on Saturday, and we'll take a look at that. They played RGV over the weekend, so we'll definitely talk about that. And you know, a lot of good talking points there. For me, it's so I'm going to bring NISA into this NISA, the other independent soccer league.
You didn't give me that option.
Oh, I didn't. I'm not.
That's true.
Precluding you from anything.
You said whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Quarter way through the season, what's your biggest take? So, the pitch issues. Now we've seen I think it was Birmingham had some pitch issues a couple weeks ago. We had the Oakland Roots who were basically using a patchwork quilt for their pitch, and that match got canceled over the weekend. We saw I don't know if you saw this, but there was a match coming out of NISA where they basically only played half a match because the stadium didn't have lights. And so they called the match and awarded the team that was winning 3 points for half a match. Yeah. You know, and you know, I know there was another match over the weekend where they played like 45 minutes, and then they said they're going to replay the match in its entirety later in the season. So
yeah, that was weather. Like, yeah, the weather was happening right then. So that one I'll give some slack to. And not only the ones that have actually been affected, but like we've seen like the last New Mexico United game. Where they saw the infield did not look good and did not play right. Saw some weird bounces, and we still played the game. And you know, both sides played going to that goal, so it's fair-ish. And then that same last weekend, so not the San Antonio match, but the Austin match, I watched RGV play, and their field was eaten up. I think they had gotten a lot of moisture, and it was just not in good shape. So and just so you fans out there know, it is 15 seconds left in the Phoenix Clippers game, and so if I scream or gasp or throw my phone, that is why.
All right. Well, as Jacob's watching basketball, you know, again, you mentioned, you know, some of the other ones. You mentioned the RGV Austin. You mentioned, you know, the weather in the one match, and of course, you can't account for weather. You know, especially if it's being that much of a torrential downpour to where pitch is unplayable. But you look at what happened out in Oakland, and you look at, you know, and we agree. We know that our Isotopes Park is not necessarily the best pitch at times. And we know that the grounds crew does everything that they can, but you know, we're in the middle of a drought. We've got a heat wave going on. You know, and when you're putting down sod for a week at a time, like it's not gonna take. It's
Yeah,
not
especially
gonna do well.
when you're putting it on top of clay.
Yes.
So the roots aren't going to do anything other than just die, basically. So until we get our own stadium, or later in the season when the Isotopes games end, maybe we can see a little bit different results. But yeah, until then, it's these home matches are going to be hit and miss. So
Yeah, I think part of the issue is that we did have two home matches back to back, and so you have the sod down for an extended period of time. Because I know that prior to like the single game home stands, they put that sod down on like Wednesday or Thursday, and so it looks a lot better for those. But
mhm.
but when you have the sod down in this case for basically a week, and there's only so much watering you can do. Like you mentioned, they put it down on clay. You know, it's not gonna take. It's not gonna look good. It's not necessarily gonna play the best. But I mean, it's the issues. Is it something systemic within the league to where there's these issues, or is it just like sporadic things where it's on the club? And like when it comes to the Oakland Roots situation, why did it take them up until 20 minutes prior to the match to make that decision to cancel it?
Yeah, I think you got to kind of take them on a case by case basis for the most part. Like for us and a few others, you have baseball stadiums that you're trying to share, and it just gets it's never going to be perfect doing that. For the Oakland situation though, I don't. They hadn't had a home game all year. They've been the schedule's been out since I don't even remember when, April,
Probably March, April. Yeah.
March, April, somewhere in there. So you've got months to look at the schedule. Go, okay, our first home match, 12th of June. Let's be ready, and then they aren't ready. Um, so that, and we know that you know Ben Bowery asked to leave there. They fired their coach in the preseason. Um, they're just not a steady situation going on over there. So we'll see. Hopefully they can iron things out and get things smooth again. But so I think that one is more of an organizational problem. Whereas when you look at ours and Birmingham's and I think it was Birmingham, Austin actually that got rained out basically and stuff like that. It just happens and you do whatever you can to try to fix it. So but that being the biggest surprise to me shouldn't be your biggest surprise. Like there's always field issues in the USL. Like it's until everybody has their own stadium and has like legit good ground and grass and a grounds crew to keep up with it, then yeah, there's going to be issues.
Do you think and this is probably a giant wishful thinking idea here. Do you think maybe somehow Peter and the guys from the front office talk to the Isotopes and convince them to go to full grass infield like we used to see in a couple different parks? And I know like the Astros used to have like a turf infield, but do you think somehow Peter convinced them to go full grass?
No, no, that's not where I thought you were going to go with that question either. So my question is, the Isotopes grounds crew has been the best grounds crew in AAA. Been named that several times in the existence of the Isotopes. I thought you were going to ask if Peter tries to steal them when we get our own stadium, and I wonder if it's possible for a grounds crew to do both.
I don't see why not.
Because I would be very happy with that. Because for the problems that our pitch has in the infield, everywhere else is immaculate. And I've walked on it setting up the pitch, and I've seen what it's like, and it is just beautiful. Other than the spots where we have to put sod down because of playing soccer on a baseball pitch. soccer on a baseball field. Sorry. Again, basketball is going on, this and that and the other. We talk soccer a lot, so I call it a pitch, and then so yeah.
Well, while you're talking basketball, there you mentioned before we got on air, how I felt about the Hawks, and I gotta say, Stephen A. Smith, you can suck it. You were wrong. You were wrong, wrong, wrong. And I saw an article on ESPN.com asking who is the MVP of the conference playoffs so far, and not a single one of them had Trey mentioned. You guys are dead wrong.
Okay, so I don't even know where to go with that. I don't know what Stephen A said. I don't really care what Stephen A said because Stephen A talks out his ass all the time. Uh, I thought the Hawks were going to win that series the whole time because Philadelphia is Philadelphia. I guess they haven't figured it out yet, and they're probably going to figure it out by trading somebody that's owed $147 million over the next 4 years. So that's going to be tough for them to get anything back, in my opinion. They'll get something, but teams are not going to be like, oh yeah, give me this guy that shot 3 times in the fourth quarter in the series. Granted, he was 3 for 3, 100%. So, and this guy that passed up a wide open dunk to give it to a defensive minded player with a defender on him. It just doesn't make sense. So we got 7.8 seconds and Phoenix is down by 1 inbounding the ball. So it he was fouled. What are you doing? Sorry. Anyways. Yeah, so I don't know how you don't give it to Durant, even though he lost. If you watched those games, Durant did everything for the Nets and scored almost 100 points in the last 2 games and played really good defense and just had no help whatsoever. Otherwise, they win that pretty easily.
Yeah, I just don't know how Trey doesn't get mentioned in that with how well he played. Now, Game 7, he was ice cold for for basically 3 quarters. But I mean, you got Kevin Herter who stepped up and had a heck of a game, and yeah, Philly had some interesting decisions, and I saw I saw one meme and it said that it was a comparison between the Hawks comeback win, the 26 they erased a 26-point deficit, to the Falcons collapse. And if you look, apparently there was a point in time in which the same time was left on the clock. It showed the point difference. It was the exact same point difference in the 2 games. And then, obviously the Hawks came back and won. The Falcons lost theirs. But, I felt the Hawks played really well. I'm disappointed that most of the games have been on TNT, and I think the entire Eastern Conference Finals are going to be on TNT, which I think is absolutely bullshit.
Yes, they are. It's always like that. It has been one on ESPN, one on TNT for 10 years.
I think it's bullshit. I really do. Like, I don't know. That's just my thinking on that. And
you're just bitter and a boomer, and you don't have TV, and you're upset about it.
I don't need the hassle of TV. I don't want I don't want the bill of TV.
Well, see, the great thing is that I have a stepdad who has Direct TV, and I know the password, so I am able to watch it whenever I want because I can just log in through his account, and it is great.
That's the way.
So I literally watch ESPN, TNT. What else do I watch? Fox Sports, NBC Sports, all of those I watch through that same way.
Yeah.
So you just need to find somebody that has DirecTV or Dish or something and use their login.
I might borrow my folks' Comcast login.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
At least for the Olympics, anyway. See how that happens. One thing I've really been missing out on. One thing I've been disappointed that I haven't been able to see is the Euros. and there's been a lot of action going on over
They're
there.
on ESPN Plus, aren't they? Well,
No,
ESPN and ESPN
ESPN,
Plus.
yeah, ESPN, not ESPN Plus. I found someone linked an app somewhere called, I think it's called Prende, Prende. I think it's like a Spanish or a Spanish language TV station, and it's a free app, and you can watch all the games on there for free.
Oh, we got drama here, guys. Drama, drama, drama. Point nine. Phoenix was down by one with the ball. Threw a lob to the basket. Now you can't call goaltending on a pass from out of bounds. So the shot looked like, or the pass looked like it was going to go in, but DeAndre Ayton went up and dunked it. And now the Clippers are freaking out, thinking it's goaltending. Somebody just pushed Devin Booker. Uh, the place went crazy. It was a great play. I'll keep you updated. But for now, I think it's time to transition to what feels like a lifetime ago, but there was a United match that was played uh, last Wednesday.
Yeah, last Wednesday. It's been a long, long break in between matches. And while we're getting into that, let me switch this right over here. And there we go. Get our highlight package rolling here, courtesy of USLChampionship.com. Yeah, it was. Actually, I had to watch this one at home. I wasn't at the stadium Tuesday, Wednesday night. I know none of us were. But yeah, New Mexico United came out and they just absolutely dominated a San Antonio team that I thought was going to be pretty competitive in this one.
Yeah, we talked about. I talked about you guys. I talked about wanting to see something during this match, and we weren't really sure. Earl, I'm glad he's not here because then we don't have to hear him gloat about predicting the score right again. Even though I did say that I wish I would have gone first because I would have picked the same score, so I get at least half credit there. But what we saw wasn't even like the final score wasn't even like it wasn't really indicative of the match. Like we could have, if you look at the stats, we should have probably won by at least one more goal. 75% possession. I don't have the stats up in front of me. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in this stupid basketball game. But I'll pull them up on here. It was a game that United just like I don't San Antonio maybe I think they scared me once and probably should have scored there and like they should have scored first if I'm not mistaken. They had a chance. And couldn't quite find a back of the net. The ball bounced through the 6-yard box and was sitting right there for somebody to pick off and throw in. So 71% possession. Sorry, shots 14-12 for San Antonio, but we had 5 shots on goal. They only had 3. The game just was never really in doubt. So it was a surprise, but it puts my mind at ease. You guys were freaking out last week, calling me saying that I was hitting the panic button and whatnot, but it put my mind at ease, saying, okay, they can win at home handily and be. They found that groove again. Although I will say that it was only 6,000 fans there, so maybe it was because there wasn't as many fans that as to why we performed better.
Well, yeah, I mean, Wednesday night match, 6,000 plus. That's not a bad turnout. Again, I know the last time we had an interesting turnout on a Wednesday night. It was kind of funky weather, and of course, we've had 100 plus degree heat here in town, and so 6,000 people coming out for a Wednesday night match in one that we're still at 75% capacity. And we got some news on that later on that we'll get to. But yeah, United basically controlled the ball control the pace of play here. I think this is the play you're talking about, right here in the 24th, where the ball goes across the face of goal, and then he basically just misses a sitter.
Yeah.
Really should have scored there, but United's defense was pretty solid the entire night. Didn't really give up anything, which was impressive to see. We talked a lot about guys about them coming in on a short rest and how it would affect them, and it really did not look at all like United was playing on short rest.
Mm-mm. And to San Antonio's credit, they were also playing on short rest. They played last weekend too. I think they played Friday though, so they had an extra day off there. But one thing I like to look at when you look at the possession being so far off is if you look at the defensive stats, tackles 22 to 24. So even though we had the ball twice as much as they did, 3 times as much as they did, they still only had 2 more tackles than us. And the tackle success rate was way higher for us, 63 to 54. So our defense, we're kind of maybe even burying the lead here. It's our 3rd clean sheet in a row. And Earl can suck it finally. And he kept complaining that we hadn't had a clean sheet and trying to blame Alex. And Tim Bacchus has been fantastic no matter which way you look at it. So 3 clean sheets in a row. And as much as I love Phil, I'm right there with him. I'm loving Phil. You can't go away from Tim Bacchus right now, and you have no reason to. So the defense, even though 2 of those clean sheets, we had over 70% of the possession, it's still a clean sheet, and it still counts as 0 goals given up, and you got to be excited about that if you're a New Mexico United fan.
Yeah, the goals allowed against, or whatever, goals against average, whatever. I don't know the exact acronym, but definitely going down once again. And all sorts of credit out there to the defense, how they played. Alex made a couple big saves, and we just saw one here. And there's there's another one right there. A couple big saves towards the end of the match. We had that sequence where, there was one back across the face goal. Alex punched away when we were at the south end, and then when we were at the north end at the end of the second half, there were the 2 shots. One went off the crossbar. I initially thought he had saved that one the first time, and then the follow up shot, Alex.
The follow up header.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then he had the breakaway, quasi breakaway, where the player came across goal there. There was a touch between him and Yearwood. Yearwood fell down, and he turns around. Wyden was sitting on the goal line for it, and maybe could have cleared it, but he didn't need to because Alex came up big there too, and stopped a shot there. So it was a great defensive game, and I'm happy that Austin Yearwood was actually recognized for Team of the Week, partially because of that defensive match, and then partially because he just had an absolute banger from outside the 18-yard box that bent in that far post. Just a beautiful goal. What a way to open your account, your professional account with that goal there, and then of course he has the Michael Jordan shoulder shrug.
Oh yeah,
celebration.
No, it was a well-deserved celebration for him, and I feel for Sam Gleedle, who had his ankles broken on that play.
I don't feel for him at all. I do not like that guy. He was trash against RGV in this game on Saturday too, and I know he's got New Mexico ties and whatnot, but didn't care for his complaining. Thought he was really bad. He got beat there. He got beat several times by Amando down there in that corner. He did not have a good night whatsoever.
Yeah, and there's that goal right now. If you're watching on the YouTube, watching behind us, Austin, just fantastic looking goal, fantastic strike, and I mean Cardone had no chance at all at saving that, And yeah, he's a fantastic way to open his professional account. And Team of the Week nod for Austin Yearwood. So congratulations to him. And I checked the voting stats on the Goal of the Week voting prior to coming on air, and Austin is in the lead with 47% of the vote currently. So if you haven't done so, please go vote and vote. Be sure to vote often, as many times as you possibly can. And again, I know USL social media is going to hate us for winning yet another Goal of the Week honor, but I think it's well deserved. It's a fantastic goal from a distance out. So, congratulations to Austin on that.
I mean, there's been some. I don't know if you've paid attention to the Goal of the Week votes, even when we're not nominated. One of our players isn't nominated, but there's been some absolute worldies in the USL this year. I think I've seen 2 goal kicks or corner kicks scored on just directly from the corner kick. I don't think we've seen any bicycle kicks or scorpion kicks or anything like that. But just go. Jack Blake alone has 3, 2 of them this week and one of them a few weeks ago, maybe even 4. I don't remember, but all of his goals have came from outside the box and have been great. So the USL is producing some really high quality goals that the goal of the year competition is going to be pretty stiff if we're not looking at it through the lens of black and yellow.
That is true. Yeah. There's a lot going on, a lot of competition for that. And real quick, Stephen Doonan, thank you so much for joining us here on the channel. Thank you for being a part of the show. I appreciate you being here. How's United doing today? United is doing well. United Nation is doing well. We are, of course, talking about the win from Wednesday night over San Antonio. And one of the things that we talked about coming out of the Austin match was that United had, obviously for the first time in their history, had 0 shots on target. They clearly turned that around, and I'd be willing. I have this strange feeling that maybe Troy listened to our show, because we talked about the club needing to take some shots from outside the box, and of our 12 shots, 6 of them were, of course, from outside the box. Mondo had a pretty good one. Austin's, of course, where he scored. So I think we should take credit for this. We inspired Troy to have the guys go out and shoot from distance a little bit, try to open up those spaces. And against a club like San Antonio, who has the size that they do, you have to do things like that in order to open up space. And that's something that I feel like United really handled well. If you watch what they did throughout the match, there weren't really any high or aerial crosses, I should say. They were a lot of lower crosses, keeping them down, trying to prevent San Antonio from taking advantage of that height. And so that was something that San Antonio really struggled with throughout the match, and they couldn't impose themselves on it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think maybe, Troy was listening to us last week? Do you think, they game plan to try to take the height advantage out of it? Or was it this just, San Antonio is not as good as we thought we were, as good as we thought they were?
Well, so I hadn't watched but a couple matches for San Antonio before ours, and I didn't think that they were great. But I do think Troy listened, because I think Troy always listens. He knows a good show when he hears it, and of course he's listening right now. Troy, how you doing? But it made me wonder if we kind of overlooked Austin, because they clearly put in a tremendous amount of work to beat San Antonio here. I think if you look at the 2 lineups, it was clear to me that this was our A lineup, our A plus lineup, and the Austin match was like our A minus. And then you look at just how we attacked and how we just stayed on the front foot. Because one thing that we could have done was park the bus. We talked about parking the bus a lot last week. And we could have done that up 1 or up 2. And we never did, which, one, is kind of rare for us, because Troy has been known to park the bus when he's up a goal or 2, especially at home for some reason. So not doing that helped us tremendously. And yeah, you see the one chance there where San Antonio was able to play a ball over the top and get a guy one on one with the goalie, kind of going sideways instead of right at him. But other than that, they the second half was all us, even though we had the lead. So just a fantastic coaching performance, a fantastic approach, um, both in the first half and the second half with the lead. And then, of course, the guys actually on the pitch did a fantastic job, um, and played their asses off, and completely deserved at least a 2-0 win.
Yeah, one of the better performances we've seen this year, and I know that might be a tall statement given we did have back to back 3-1 wins earlier in the year, but I feel like this is just the most complete performance we've seen so far. I mean, dominant on the attacking end, another clean sheet, and we gave up only 3 shots on target the entire night, and
Mhm.
so and this is not an untalented San Antonio squad. I mean, they're not.
No,
They're very talented group of
the
guys.
the talent is for sure there. They're just not playing well though.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been nice to get Harry's take on this, and we of course, like we mentioned last week, we will get Harry on the show prior to the next match with San Antonio. Um, but yeah, I mean, I expected more from Cardone, guys like Schoberg, and Doyle. They were really basically non-factors. I mean, aside from standing tall in a couple times, I mean, they really didn't do a whole lot. Which was just really surprising to me, and I think it really speaks to the game plan that Troy instilled ahead of this match.
Yeah, and I completely ignored your not ignored, forgot your point on the crosses and not sending in those high looping arches, high looping crosses that you typically see in soccer for the most part. That there there wasn't a lot of those, and yeah, you had how do you pronounce his name? So Schoberg,
Schoberg, yeah.
Schoberg, who's a massive dude. He also was the Colorado Rapids player that got a red card when we played them in the Open Cup a couple years ago. He was playing for them at the time, so he's a quality quality player out there. But he was just kind of nullified, and I mean, we didn't really get a whole lot around the 6 yard box, and maybe that was because he's there and he's a long, lengthy, tall player. But I just think that the guys executed a perfect game plan. So they executed it. Troy came up with it, and they just, I mean, they played really well. If you look at the first goal for Suggs, Schoberg jumps up um, because I believe it's Harry has actually dove all the way inside, um, and draws a big body up to the top of the 18-yard box, and then I believe it's Moreno slips Suggs in beautifully, and he might have been offside. I can't tell. I haven't seen a clear, definitive angle of it that shows he is or isn't. Um, but it looks like Doyle, who might be climbing the list of most annoying opposing players very quickly. I do not like Doyle. I don't even know what his first name is. He's a big bald dude, um, and I really just kind of don't like him. And
Liam.
Liam Doyle, that sounds like a douchey name, so that fits him perfectly. Uh, I didn't like his actions against us. I didn't like his actions over the weekend against RGV. Um, so yeah, I believe he plays Suggs on side, and Cardone can't really do anything uh, with that. Suggs from the 6 yard spot. I mean, he's just not. And then you talk about Austin's goal. We talked about how he couldn't do anything there. So I thought Cardoni played well. He just had two shots against him that he just had no chance of stopping whatsoever. So I, I don't know what's going on in San Antonio. Like you said, I wish Harry was here to get his perspective on it because he obviously knows this team a little bit better. They started off with a 3-0 win against Colorado Springs, which looks fantastic with the way Colorado Springs is playing. They just came off their second straight win tonight. They beat Austin 3-2 down to 10 men for an hour, and they still won 3-2. So holding them to a 3-0 win looked mighty impressive. But they sure don't look that way now. You know, we already said 5 straight winless, including 4 1-1 draws. They just, I don't know what they're doing over there, and so it's hard to gather whether this was just a quality win or like a really 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 quality win, if that makes sense.
I'm leaning towards just a quality win. I mean, yeah, like we said, San Antonio is a talented squad, and they really are underperforming at this point in the season, given the results that they have. And I know that they are missing. They have been missing their striker who was out, because of a red card. But you have to find ways to score. You have to find ways to put the ball in the back of that, and they're not necessarily doing that. A string of 1-1 draws is not gonna really get you a whole lot of places, and you have to be able to do more than that. Now, one question I did have for you is I know that we of course we do our lineup predictor challenge every week, and
Mm-hmm.
when the lineup
Mm-hmm.
came out this week, I know there were quite a few reservations about the midfield. About
Yeah,
Juan Pablo, Azira, and Tanari all being in there. All three of which are known for being more defensive minded. Now we did find out late on Friday that, or late on Tuesday, I think it was, that Sergio Rivas was going to be out with a groin injury.
no, I think it was Wednesday.
It might have even been Wednesday.
Because you text us after you and Earl had already turned in your lineups there.
Yeah, that's right. And so, with that, I thought maybe we might see a cello in there, but I thought about after having played Saturday night, maybe it was an opportunity to give him a rest. But Juan Pablo, Tinney, and Azira was definitely an interesting midfield to say the least. And I have to say that I was pretty impressed with how well they played. And I know Earl is not the biggest fan in the world of JPG, but you can't fault the control that they showed on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I was impressed with how they played, but at the same time, San Antonio did not try to pressure us whatsoever. And so I wonder if the result would have been the same, or if we would have felt that they played good and had a good showing, if it would have been against somebody like El Paso or somebody like Phoenix or even San Diego. So I will say that I was definitely impressed by them. I was the one in the group chat that first threw out that I wasn't thrilled with it. We saw the Juan Pablo and Michael Azira midfield duo against RGV, and it was some of the worst midfield play that we'd seen for New Mexico United ever. And so I was not thrilled about it, but they seem to have figured some things out. Azira still doesn't seem like he's on quite the same page with everybody. There's a play, I don't think it's in the highlight package, but Swartz makes a brilliant run down the near side and then gets to the touchline and plays a ball back to the top of the box and has Suggs coming in just ready to pound it, and Azira cuts Suggs off uh, and proceeds to dribble it and then try to cross it and end up. I don't even. I can't remember if we got a corner kick out of it or if it ended up bouncing off of Azira on the way out for a goal kick. But it was a play that I think if he's on the same page with everybody, he sees Suggs coming in, charge it in, ready to take a shot, and he lets that go. But other than that, I don't think he made a mistake throughout the whole night. And Juan Pablo, he's not my favorite player either, but in talking with people that actually know soccer a little bit more than myself, they kind of highlight some of the things that he does that I might not think are fantastic or think matter, but they actually do. So I've grown to respect him a little bit more, and thought he played well. I didn't really have a problem with Tinney. I've seen Tinney be a more offensive minded player. Um, we've seen him with a couple of assists this year. I think at least one.
Yeah, the one on Wednesday night for Josh's goal.
Okay, and we've seen him with two then, because he had one in that Austin match. He assisted on a Moreno's header in the second half. So uh, he he's not fully defensive minded. I think we think of him as defensive minded just because we think of him as a little bulldog out there and pissing people off and making annoying tackles and challenges and stuff like that. But he has shown that he has at least a quality passing prowess out there in that last third. So um, I wasn't super upset seeing him out there with those two. Is just those two just kind of made me nervous because I feel like they're the same player in a lot of ways, Azira and Guzman. But
Yeah,
you can't argue with the results.
yeah, I get that, and the same argument can be made about Brian and Dev. They're very very similar in their
Mm-hmm.
play style and what's expected of them in their roles, and so when you
I
look
still
at
want to see them together though.
yeah
We saw it for 20 minutes against Loudon, um, maybe a little bit longer than that, but for the most part, 20 minutes, and then Yearwood got the red card, and then everything had to change from then. So I still want to see that Dev and Brian up top with Moreno kind of back in the Wehan role, and see what that looks like. But hopefully, just because of that Loudon match, we hopefully we get to see a chance at that again, and that Loudon match doesn't leave a sour taste in Troy's mouth, and we don't get to see it again.
yeah yeah. So yeah, maybe we'll see it, maybe not. I yeah, the conversations that I've had with some folks is that they're very similar players. So it's almost like you don't necessarily want both of them in there at the same time. You want to spell them with each other. But I could see where you would want them. Have two big bodies, two guys who have good hold up play, guys who can distribute inside the box and make things happen there. I think there are some positives that you could take from it. There's some things that you could be looking forward to. Before we move on, I do want to highlight the midfield, some of the stats from Wednesday night. All three of our midfielders did have 80 plus passing accuracy in the opponent's half. Between the three of them, they had 17 duels won. Tenari and Guzman both had assists. Juan Pablo created 2 chances. Tenari created 3. And then in terms of defensive play, Juan Pablo and Azira combined for 12 tackles, 1 block shot, and 3 interceptions. So all around a strong night from the 3 guys in the midfield and a formation that we really weren't sure how it was going to play, given the tendencies of those players. And I think what happened with Tinney, and it's something like you mentioned, he's not. Well, we think of him as a bulldog and how good he is defensively. I think Troy intentionally played him in more of almost like a cam type position, almost in that B's role. Not quite. No, I don't think. I'm not comparing Tinney to Bees by any stretch of the imagination, but I think by pushing him up a little bit higher, it gave him an opportunity to be a little bit more involved.
Yeah, and we've seen it I think we've seen him up in that role a couple times this year. Particularly when he's playing with Guzman and either Azira, as we saw, or I believe it was more uh, Cello. We saw him play kind of up more. But that's the thing about this roster is that you've got a ton of versatility and a ton of people at each position that are capable of holding their own. To to think that we had Cello and Rivas and Guzman, Tenari, Azira, one of those three, um, playing for us in the midfield a couple of nights ago or a couple of matches ago, and then to turn around and have none of them or only one of them still in there and still perform well, it's just a good problem to have. So to be able to rotate all of them except for I would say Guzman and Azira, I think those two are pretty much defensive minded central midfielders, and there's really nothing you're going to do about that. But to have Tenari, Cello, Rivas, even Amando can drop back in there. Um, all of them be kind of interchangeable and twist them around and work them in different ways. That's going to greatly benefit us as the year moves on. And when we talked about it, we're only 8 matches in. We're only a quarter of the way into the season. We still have a lot to go. And I can't wait to see new wrinkles and new lineups and new, probably not new formations, but just new little tweaks that Troy can come up with as the season goes along, and we can continue to get 3 points in these matches and hopefully shoot up the standings a little bit.
And before we move on, we're gonna show this Austin goal one more time, and there it is.
God, that's beautiful.
What a goal from Austin! So there you go. I want to show that one more time before we move on. Thank you guys, for watching so far. That was of course our recap of Wednesday night's match against San Antonio. A lot of positives to take away from that match. A lot of good things to look forward to going into the next match against Colorado Springs. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe will be our third match against Colorado Springs already.
I believe it's just our second.
Second, okay. Maybe it's just maybe it's because we played them so close to the end of the preseason that I keep thinking that we've already played them.
Yeah, no, it's only the second. The only other time was the Widener Field opener where we beat them 3-1.
That's right.
But before we get to that match, we mentioned several times we're quarter of the way in. Who's your quarter of the way MVP for United and then also for the league? Or at least the Western Conference.
It's hard to say because we still haven't seen, a ton of players in the Western Conference. I think in terms of our play, in terms of the club, I would have to say Alex. I mean, Alex has kept us in every match. Here we're talking, three consecutive clean sheets, and he's done a fantastic job this season. Can't really fault him for any of the goals that have been conceded. And that's something that we couldn't necessarily say in the past, where it's been a mistake by the keeper, that allowed it to happen. So I think Alex is my quarter of the way MVP for the club. In terms of the Western Conference, I mean, there's a number of different names you can throw out. Jack Blake has played well. Solomon Asante has played well. Santi Moar has played well. Santi Moar, of course, has played well. There are any number of guys on United that have played well. Haji Berry is playing well. There's a number of different names that you can throw out there, guys who have had pretty good performances so far to this season. So it's really hard to pick out one more than any other. But if I had to lean somewhere, I'd say probably no one's had a bigger impact on their club than Santi has in Phoenix.
See, I think I have to agree with you for the United MVP, just because we don't have somebody that has a bunch of goals. We don't really have anybody that has a bunch of assists. we just have a lot of good quality people. So it's hard to pinpoint one person as a field player that has stuck out. So I think Alex is the right call there, because you look at it and he's given up one, two, three, four, five goals on the season through 8 matches. Um, we talked that none of them really were mistakes or anything like that. It was just, the RGV one was a bad bounce, deflection that went in, just things here and there. So I think that's a good call with him being ours. As far as the West is concerned, um, I'm going Haji Berry. Um, he has come to a side in the switchbacks that has not performed well the last several years. He is first on their team in goals with 8, second on their team with 3 assists, first in shots, second in chances created. Um, he is just fantastic for them, and we saw firsthand what he's capable of against us in that first game, scoring just a little over a minute in, I think it was. Um, he just he's been incredible for them, and when he performs, they win. He had 2 goals tonight. Um, one was a penalty, and the other one was just a beautiful, beautiful shot from about the penalty spot. And he just keeps performing for them, and that is going to segue nicely into this preview for the match coming up on Friday. Another Friday match. We've played them both times on Friday nights in Colorado Springs so far, and it'll be interesting to see if Austin. I imagine Austin's going to be out there, and probably Sam, and then of course Kalen Ryden back there with Suggs and Schwartz or Bruce or somebody like that, as another defender, quasi defender over there. It's going to be interesting to see if we can nullify him. We did a good job after that first goal in that first match, but he's just playing so well right now. Already has 8 goals, like I said, through 6 matches. 8 matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 matches. Sorry. So 3 goals through, or 8 goals through 7 matches. 3 assists to go on top of that. He's just tough, man, and you can look at Santi, like you said. Santi has 6 goals and 3 assists. So because of tonight's performance, Haji has passed him in production, and also you look at it. Santi has Salman Sante, Dadashov, Lambert, Quinn. He's got all this talent around him that I think he's just kind of benefiting from more so than Haji, who's creating literally everything. The only other player that Colorado Springs has in the attacking side that has done a whole lot is these names, man. I don't know how to pronounce these names. Mji Nagila, who has played well as well, but him and Barry are really the only ones that are doing anything offensively for him, and it's a tough duo led by Haji Berry, who also scored against us in the preseason. So we gotta really, he's the one guy to watch coming up on Friday for me. And if we can keep him from getting an assist or a goal, then I think we have a really good chance of getting another clean sheet and another W.
I gotta address the comment in chat here real quick. Yes, The Office. I'm a huge fan. Thank you. I love this shirt. It's one of the most comfortable shirts that I have. So I tend to wear it every time it's clean. So yeah, it's a fantastic shirt.
No comments on my shirt, Henry. What the heck?
I don't think we can see your shirt. Wait, is that a sporting team, a sporting club of some kind?
It's a team that has a future Hall of Famer and just won the Super Bowl. If you must know, so Just throwing that out there.
Oh, all right.
I don't think so. I normally like shy away from sporting my Tampa Bay paraphernalia on the show, but I was actually going to change into the electric turquoise kit and just kind of forgot. So here we are. Now everybody knows that I'm a Tampa Bay fan. This shirt is older than all of my kids, so it is not just me being a bandwagon Tampa Bay fan with Tom Brady. And my oldest kid is 4 years old. Thank you very much. So just gonna throw that out there real quick before you start talking about Colorado Springs and United.
Yeah, back to our preview of Friday night's match. You mentioned it. I mean, Haji Berry is going to be the player to watch, and I think the other guys, Galina. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly from the last broadcast. Yeah, no, Haji Berry. We talked about him prior to the first match. Ton of pace, ton of ability, and he's got he's got the ability to score from really anywhere, in and around the 18-yard box. And so he's someone that you have to keep track of the entire match. That's not something we did particularly well early on the last time up at Widener Field. And so we have to be better about that. We have to contain him. We can't let him get on a break. Otherwise he's gonna be killer, just like we saw. And we've seen it, we saw it in the preseason, we saw it, the first match on Widener Field. We've seen it, if you watch their other matches, he's dangerous. He has the ability to get behind on pretty much any given play and just cause havoc in the backfield, and you don't want to see that.
Yeah, he's going to be probably, if we look at our schedule here and who we've played so far, he is by far the toughest singular offensive weapon that we have faced, and he has scored against us once already. So it's going to be a tall test for us to be able to contain him and keep that clean sheet streak alive. But I think we can do it. I think we've got the talent. I think Alex has been huge for us the last 3 matches, and if he comes in prepared off, what is it going to be, 11 days rest or something like that? Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough, but I think with all that going for us, having them play tonight, and they're going to be on a short week with only 4 days to rest, and even if it is in Colorado Springs, last time I checked, we kind of own Colorado, so that part doesn't really worry me. In fact, I think they have some black and gold paint that they're gonna have to bring out eventually for Widener Field, and just paint over all the blue and paint it yellow, because it is our second home.
Yeah, if I remember the stats correctly, we are 6-1-1 all time against Colorado Springs. So, and then if you throw in the Rapids as well, I think we're 7-1-1. So, yeah, Colorado is basically just northern New Mexico at this point, mm-hmm. in terms of sports territory. So, yeah, not too concerned about the confines or the players being, in a place that they're not familiar with. Obviously, we've played there. We've played very well up at Widener Field over the past few years, and so it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be a fun match. Again, like you mentioned, 11 days rest. The guys are going to be fit, ready to go. Hopefully Sergio is back and ready to go as well. Be good to see him back in there, give us another attacking option. And
I'm a little bummed, though, that both Colorado Springs matches are already going to be over, because I just looked it up yesterday, I think it was, the day before, and I'm only 5 hours from Colorado Springs here. And I thought I was much farther because we moved, and I thought that would make that trip even longer. But you can go north to Santa Rosa and then cut north again and end up in Vegas real quick from Santa Rosa. So, in fact, there's a lot of people that live in Santa Rosa that work in Las Vegas, which is kind of strange. So it's not that far of a drive, and I'm a little bummed that I didn't realize that sooner. Otherwise, maybe I would be trying to go to one of these games. Although it doesn't help that they're both on Friday. If they were on Saturday, I could get up early Saturday morning, drive up there. take the family with me. We could hang out. But being on Friday, I'd have to take off work and this and that and the other, and I don't like to do that. So hopefully next year the schedule makers are kind to us and give us a couple, at least one Colorado Saturday match that I can make the trip up to. So, and then there was another point. Oh yes, Sergio being injured, but then not on the injury report on the broadcast. Those are the things that the USL just drives me nuts about. It's like, what are you guys doing? Just be transparent. Just let us know what's going on. And I kudos to United for sending us the fact that he was going to be out early. That's great, but that's because we're media and we get an email with match notes. If you're just Joe Schmo that's watching the match, you don't know that Sergio's not in there because he's hurt.
Yeah.
So
I could be wrong. I think that might actually be Windfire Productions. That's in charge of match day graphics, or basically whichever production company does the broadcast,
yeah.
not necessarily the USL itself. Because
that's true. That's true.
I know we've seen a number of errors across various different teams. So I'm not entirely convinced it's just the USL. I think it's the local production company. So that might have been Windfire, and maybe they didn't know. And so, but yeah, like you said, David Carl from the club did send us an updated match or game notes ahead of time to let us know that Sergio was going to be out. So big thanks to David. He does pretty good keeping us all in the loop as to what's going on in the club. And so yeah, looking forward to Friday night under the lights up at Widener Field. Jacob, what is your score prediction for Friday night?
Ah, man, I just, maybe if I wouldn't have watched tonight's match, I'd be more inclined to pick a shutout again. But watching Colorado score twice with 10 men against a team that parked the bus so hard against us in Austin Bold, in Austin, man, it makes me think that their offense is just going to be a little too much. But I'm gonna go with the clean sheet still. I think our defense is just playing absolutely outstanding right now, and we'll do what it takes to keep Haji Berry under control and therefore keep Colorado Springs under control. And I'll go with the same scoreline that we won Wednesday night by and say 2-0.
Okay, not bad. I'm looking at one thing real quick here before I give my prediction. As I mentioned, Haji Berry, of course, is going to be a threat no matter what happens. You talk about them putting up 3 against Austin Bold, who came into our home and parked 30 buses in front of the goal. Austin did not play as defensive a formation.
No, they did
as not. Against Colorado Springs as they did us, where they put 5 at the back. I mean, come on, grow up, grow a sack.
And I think that was strictly because they were playing at home.
Yeah.
Instead of away at us or at Colorado Springs, but no, it wasn't the same situation that Colorado Springs scored against Austin 3 times. Like it's not so much that they scored against Austin 3 times. It's just they scored against somebody 3 times.
Yeah.
With 10 men for the last 2 goals. And so, and if you watch the match, like Colorado Springs was the better club, even down 10 men. It reminded me a lot of us against Loudon. Like they controlled the match even though they were down a man. And I just think that it's going to be tough for the defense to fully stop that attacking duo up there. But I still think they get it done. It's kind of like when we were on a roll. What do we have? 5 1-goal games where 5 goals where we allowed 1 goal. 5 games where we allowed 1 goal. Let me try that again. In a row, and I said I wasn't going to predict a shutout until we finally got one. Now we're 3 games into the shutout streak, so I think I'm just going to predict a shutout until we give up a goal.
There you go. I'm going to go 2-1 again. I'm going to go 2-1. I think we go up. I think we get another win. I don't think we make it 4 straight clean sheets. As much as I would love for that to happen, I just don't think we do. Haji Berry is just too dangerous. Chances are, if Colorado scores, it's going to be him. So that's where I'm at, 2-1, and then hopefully Earl will get us his score prediction later in the week, and we can let you share with you guys what that is
And
once this goes out.
I must say that diehard Mexico United fan. But if there was a team that I had to root for in the Mountain Division or hell in the USL in general, um, other than United, it would be this Colorado Springs team. Um, I've always thought that they were kind of capable of more than they were doing the last couple years, and this year, they're 2-2-2. There's which doesn't make sense. Hold on, because I looked at it and I thought they had played 7 games, but they're kind of middle of the pack now. They're not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they've played 7 games, so they're actually 3-2-2. Um, I believe is their actual record, but they're Haji Berry makes them into something else entirely. They're fun to watch. They've moved into fourth place in the division, coming off back-to-back wins. Right before that was back-to-back draws, so they have not lost in 4 matches. In fact, they have not lost since we beat them back in May. So they they seem to be finding good form. They're fun to watch. From everything that I have experienced and heard about their fans and their organization up there, they're just class acts. It's not like Phoenix fans or El Paso fans. And so I really like their what they got going on over there. They got the new field going. So if there's a team other than United that I will find myself rooting for throughout the years probably because I will continue to follow them. It is Colorado Springs, but that is not keeping me from predicting a 2-0 win.
Yeah, so real quick around the Mountain Division after the most recent matches for all the clubs, RGV does still sit in first place. They are sitting on 17 points
Through
uh,
9 matches,
through 9 matches. Yeah, El Paso has 2 matches in hand. They are undefeated in at least their last 5. And if
they're undefeated on the season.
yeah, that is correct. They are undefeated on the season, 15 points from 7 matches. They are hot on the heels of RGV there. Let's see, who do they have next? El Paso. El Paso has.
They have RGV on June 30th, and then we play them July 3rd.
That should be a couple of fun matches to watch right there. RGV El Paso is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and of course, we do take on El Paso. That one it will be in El Paso, so looking forward to that. And then of course, New Mexico United sits third on 14 points, 7 points from the last 3 matches. Not too shabby right there.
We do
Colorado.
have 3 road matches coming up in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have Colorado Springs Friday, Monarchs Wednesday. Monarchs
Right.
next Wednesday, and then El Paso the following Saturday. So that is going to be a tough slate for us, but they are all games against teams that we're used to playing in their stadium. Seeing as we played all 3 of those teams in their home stadium 3-4 times last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pretty used to that, and the travel's not terrible. So I still expect at least 6 points out of those games, but that that's our upcoming stretch of games. So it will be interesting to see what we can manage on those, and after those 3 games, the table could look a lot different.
Yeah, it absolutely could. Moving on, Colorado Springs sitting in fourth place currently, ahead of Austin Bold on by goal differential, 8 points from their past 4 matches. They are definitely looking better as the season goes on. Austin Bold has slid down to fifth, sitting ahead of San Antonio based on number of wins, which is the tiebreaker. So Austin Bold, they've picked up let's see, 7 points from the past 5 matches. San Antonio 4 points out of their last 5, with 4 draws and a loss, sitting on 11 points there. and then Real Monarchs SLC, of course, 3 points in their last 5 matches, bringing up the bottom of the division. Their lone win of the season coming against Sacramento Republic, of all clubs. So still pretty close in who's where in the standings. I mean, no one's really out of it at this point. If Salt Lake does not turn things around, they could find themselves out of contention probably before the halfway point. But a lot of competitive matches being played, a lot of teams still in the hunt, and we still have a long way to go in this season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and there's 6 of the 7 teams have double-digit points right now, which you cannot say about any other division. The most any other division has is 5 with double digits in points. So it's a fairly competitive division. It's going to be, I think it's going to be tight for the last playoff spot, anyways. Um, I think us in El Paso are pretty much proving at this point that we are going to be a little bit above the likes of Colorado Springs, Austin, and San Antonio. Um, and hopefully that stays the same. And I just expect us to keep getting better. So I think we'll be okay there, sitting at the top and performing well. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be real tight. We're going to see what's going on. I expected one other team to kind of falter other than Real Monarchs. Well, let me rephrase that. I expected Real Monarchs to not be good. I expected one other team to also not be good. So it'll be interesting to see if that Colorado Springs, Austin, San Antonio trifecta there, if all 3 of them continue to stay up and fight for that spot, or if one of them falls back as the season goes on.
Yep. Yep. A lot of storylines, a lot of things to watch for. And we, of course, will keep you guys updated each and every week as the season continues. So there was.
So,
oh, go ahead.
My question for you to kind of tee you up for, I believe, where you were going is, are the Real Monarchs in USL Championship next year?
Next year, probably. 2023, however.
Is it 23? I thought it started in 22.
Yeah, some of them will be in 2022, and some of them will be by 2023. All MLS clubs with USL teams are expected to participate.
Okay.
So, I don't believe plans have been released in terms of which clubs will be moving in the first season. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, the MLS announced the other day that they are going to be forming a brand new 3rd division developmental league beginning in 2022 that will compete alongside the MLS regular season. The teams will play a 20 to 26 match schedule plus playoffs from March to December. The new league will begin with 20 MLS minor league affiliates, but intends to expand this new league with independent teams most likely drawn from MLS Next clubs. And the original teams are all current MLS affiliates from USL League One and USL Championship. By 2023, all MLS clubs with USL teams are expected to participate in the new league. So, yeah, I mean, this is a massive change to the U.S. soccer pyramid, in terms of how it could affect basically the entire landscape of the USSF pyramid, basically. Now, I have read some articles that have stated that this MLS developmental league will also be open to independents who wish to join. So I know there's been some talk about the Rochester Rhinos. Rochester Rhinos, by the way, have a new investor.
Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy has bought the Rochester Rhinos, or at least a portion of that. And so there's a chance that the Rochester Rhinos will be coming back at some point in the not too distant future. So I mean, this is a massive change to the soccer landscape here in the United States, and first and foremost, what does the USL Championship look like after this? And do you think, let me ask you this first: is this a plan concocted by the MLS in order to fight off the popularity that's been gained by the USL?
I don't think so. Um, with it being a tier three, level three, whatever you call it, that's the same as USL League One. So they're semi-professional athletes that can still keep their college eligibility if they can still play for the team and not get paid enough to still meet that. So it's going to be like North Texas and Forward Madison and stuff like that. Those are the teams that independent clubs from that level, I think, are going to be hurt a lot more, and maybe that hurts USL's bottom line. Um, but I think what the club has here, like if you look at the top four teams in the Atlantic, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Hartford, Charlotte, all independent clubs. Top four in the Central, Louisville, Birmingham, Indy, Tulsa, all independent clubs. Mountain, Rio Grande Valley, El Paso, New Mexico, Colorado Springs, all independent clubs. And you do have one standout in the Pacific. You have Los Dos up there in third place. But other than that, they're all independent clubs. You also have Phoenix, who is an independent club that is one of the best in the league. You have us, you've got El Paso, you've got Tampa Bay, you've got Louisville, Pittsburgh. You have a lot of stability at the top of this league. And if you take out the likes of Tacoma Defiance, Los Dos, Atlanta United 2, Sporting Kansas City 2, Loudon, sorry, Adam. Um, you know, that's just going to make the competition better. Um, and I don't I think there's enough players here, both locally and that we can bring here from overseas and other countries, that the talent pool is still big enough to supply us and supply these MLS teams. Because from my understanding, this new MLS league is going to be more younger players, more academy players, U23 type players. So you're still going to have the likes of Devin Sandoval, of Santi Moore, of Salamas Sante. That league's not going to be for them. So you're still going to have top end talent, Kalen Ryden, that's not going to play for one of those MLS2 teams in a new league. They want higher competition than that, and if they are not in the MLS itself, then they're still going to come here, and I think the MLS is still going to come here for talent, like they did with Mizell, like they did with Ketterer when Portland was in an emergency. We've seen Sam Gludel, who we just ripped apart for being terrible, or at least I did. He made it to the MLS from USL. So I still think that's going to happen. So I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's an attack on the USL. I don't think MLS did that on purpose. I think it's just a way to get the MLS pyramid, and not the US pyramid, but the MLS pyramid kind of in more line with what MLS wants, so that it's not a completely different entity that's controlling their young kids. And so it is huge news, but I think if anything at the moment, unless we find out other details, I think it's just going to help the USL Championship in a competitive standpoint, and I don't think it'll help the popularity necessarily, but it'll help with the quality of play, which theoretically should bring up the popularity.
Let me ask you this. So, with the plans that are laid out, some of these clubs might be leaving for the 2022 season, and then the rest will be expected to join by the 2023 season. Do you think the USL should just take the step and say, all right, all you two teams, you're out?
No, because as much as we hate to admit it, the MLS and the U.S. Soccer Federation are almost one and the same. Um, so I don't think you want to piss them off or do anything to ruffle feathers to somebody that has the possibility of crushing you in certain ways. Um, and from everything that we've read, or that I've read anyways, the last 2 days since this news broke, is that the MLS and the USL have worked really well together and gotten along really well together, and I think that they'll want to keep that for future endeavors. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's a merge that happens or something like that in the future if these sides still get along when all this is said and done. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. But at the moment, I'm not looking to ruffle feathers. I don't think that's what MLS was doing. I think it's just it has potential to be wins for everybody involved if it's done properly. You seem like you want it to be an attack. You seem
No, I
upset.
no, I'm not saying I
You
want.
seem
No, I don't say
you
want it
seem
to be an
like
attack. I think
you're upset at Big Brother over there for doing this.
I mean, I understand why MLS wants to do it, while but I disagree with thinking that the US there are two teams being in the USL is bad for the MLS squads. Um, but I get it. I get they want to control. They want to control the competitions. They want to further develop their own players as a next as a next step from the academy. Their pathway.
I
To
don't I
their
don't know if anybody has said that it's been bad. I I don't think it's the USL for the USL situation isn't working, so we have to do this. I think it's the USL is working fine. We just want it to be better for our top tier clubs, our League One clubs,
mm-hmm.
our MLS clubs, and we want it to be better for them and a little easier for them, and for them to be able to look at their two teams against other actual two teams, um, and have their players actually develop against what is supposed to be future MLS talent um, around the same age instead of you can't have a Las Vegas Lights who has the partnership deal with LAFC right now coming out and just getting their asses handed to them night after night by these grown ass men playing in Phoenix or San Diego or Orange County or wherever it may be. You want to see them up against the likes of other 22, 23, 24-year olds and see them develop there and keep them to where it's close enough that they can, shuttle them back and forth and like
Mm-hmm.
AAA baseball to an extent. It's easier if your two team is playing a similar schedule and you have control of that schedule and you can say, okay, well, the two teams going to play Wednesday night, and that way if the parent club wants a player up for Saturday, it can be done. And there's not this maybe I don't know how it's going to work, but maybe there's not this 48-hour you have to know who's coming down. Um, maybe they can just be like, hey, Bryce Duke for LAFC. You know, we've liked what you've been doing the last few days, but it's Friday. Las Vegas plays tomorrow. Um, we want to see what you look like out there in a game type situation. So we're just going to send you over there just because. Whereas now it's like they kind of have to know in advance a little bit more and whatnot. So that was a long rant that I didn't mean to go on, but basically saying that I don't think the problem is the USL situation isn't working or anybody saying that it's bad for MLS2 teams. I think it's just they want better.
All right, I'm gonna propose a scenario to you. This is something I saw on Twitter, And I don't know if you may or may not have seen this already, but I'm still going to propose it to you. So, with these MLS two teams all going to be departing over the next 2 years, USL has a couple different options. One is to basically go out and poach clubs from other leagues such as NISA or NASL and bring them in. Another option is maybe this is the kick that USL needs to finally put in place promotion relegation. Now, part of that would mean they'd have to do away with the franchise fees and all that kind of stuff, and they'd have to figure out balloon payments and all that kind of stuff to help facilitate the promotion relegation. What would you say if that was the route that USL took? You saw a reconfigured USL championship that featured basically the top 16 teams from the current batch of squads. So if you're looking at the standings as they are right now, Phoenix, Orange County, San Diego, Sacramento, all independent clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Rio RGV, yes, they have a developmental deal with Houston, but they're not actually like a USL 2 team.
I don't think they do anymore either. Anyways,
they still have a deal. They still have an agreement with them, but it's not like as overarching as it was
gotcha.
in the past. They're not actually like the US. They're not actually the MLS 2 team anymore.
Same with Colorado Springs.
Similar, but I think Colorado Springs has more direct ties. So then you have RGV, El Paso, New Mexico, Austin, maybe San Antonio. Okay, so we're looking at 9 teams right there. Lou City, Birmingham, Indy 11, FC Tulsa, and then Tampa, Pittsburgh, Hartford, Charlotte, maybe Charleston. So 18 teams right there. What would you say taking those 18 teams and then putting that USL championship? And then you have teams like Miami FC, Memphis 901, OKC Energy, Austin Bold and or San Antonio, Sacramento, Oakland Roots going down to USL League One.
Maybe Las Vegas Lights too, because that's a deal right now, but I wouldn't qualify them as a 2 team necessarily. They just have a very large deal with LAFC to play their players. But yeah, and I think there's still some League One teams or USL League One that are independent as well, that aren't affiliated with anybody. So you throw those teams with League One teams and make that. I'm not opposed to it. Why can't you do both though? Why can't you pull some NISA teams and still do pro reg between USL Championship and USL League One? Just have a little bit, get a Rochester Rhinos or a Detroit City FC or something like that. Bring some of those teams over as well, and then also do promotion relegation from there. I think that both of the I don't feel like it's one of those things or the other. I feel like they're both doable in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I would love to see pro reg in the USL. It would you take the MLS 2 teams out, you eliminate any independent club like Las Vegas Lights having any kind of deal with an MLS team to where they can't get players loaned to them, and you say, okay, here's what's going to happen. You win, awesome. You lose, you go down. Sucks to suck. As Henry in the chat, Henry is a buddy of mine that I used to work with when I lived in Albuquerque, and one of his favorite sayings was "sucks to suck." So that's a little bone to him, but I think that would be fantastic, and I think that if you have, it's something that you can't do right now with the MLS 2 teams in there, but maybe if you take those MLS 2 teams out, now you're looking at something that could happen. Hell, if you take those MLS 2 teams out, now you're looking at something that could technically happen with the MLS. I mean, it never will because of money, but it's a theoretical thing that could happen. especially if ProRel does really well and works like it should in the USL by itself. Maybe MLS looks at it, and maybe that's part of the merge as we finally get ProRel here in America. A boy can dream at least. Seriously doubt it's going to happen, but you never know. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens after that league opens up and kind of where it goes from there, where it grows, where USL can grow. Um, I think there's room for soccer in America to really boom into something bigger. Um, and so I'm not super worried about anything happening to our beloved United um, anytime soon. I've seen some Facebook posts when this first news first broke that oh, what does it mean? USL is going to go under, blah 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 blah. What's going to happen to United? Kind of worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all yet. Now, if it comes out that Phoenix and Tampa and Louisville are all of a sudden going to go to this new MLS league, then maybe that's an eye opener. But I don't think that's going to happen. They're not going to drop down to tier three. Um, you know, USL Championship's going to be fine. So it broke. I was interested in it. I read into it. I looked at it, and then I knew that it was going to come up tonight because it had to. But after tonight, I probably won't think about it again until it launches, and then I'll probably watch some of the games and be like, yeah, this is terrible soccer because it's kids playing kids, and for the most part, aside from a few very very talented players, you're not going to get the quality of play that you get from the USL Championship.
Yeah, I agree. And I just pulled up the USL League One standings, and even from there, you lose Revolution 2 and Toronto FC 2, both of whom we know dropped down. And so, yeah, you talk about pulling. We mentioned pulling from other leagues, and you most likely have to
I,
fill back out USL League One.
I think North Texas is also um, a two team, even if they're not, kind of like Tacoma Defiance has their own name. I believe they are Dallas's two teams, so that'd be another one that you would lose there. But I still think there's enough teams with what would be left over to possibly do pretty well. But I
Yeah,
think you'd have to bring in some others
yeah, you
eventually.
are correct about North Texas Soccer being owned and operating as the reserve team for FC Dallas. But I mean, looking at the League One clubs that are there, Union Omaha, Chattanooga, Greenville Triumph, South Georgia Tormenta FC, Fort Lauderdale, Richmond Kickers, Forward Madison, FC Tucson, and North Carolina. I mean, could you imagine, you know, imagine Forward Madison getting promoted and then coming out to New Mexico to play New Mexico
Yeah,
United? That would
it'd
be
be
a
fun.
lot of fun, you know.
It would be. And you read those names though, and the markets over there, like South Georgia. What is it?
Statesboro, Georgia. Thank you very much. South Georgia Tormenta FC. That's where I
Like,
went to college.
okay.
Statesboro, Georgia. Home of the
Like,
world's largest sand gnats.
world largest what?
Sand gnats.
Sand
Gnats.
mats?
Gnats. GNATS.
Gnats.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a weird thing to be bragging about, buddy. But
Also home to the I believe 6-time FBS Division One AA, whatever you want to call it, national champions in football. So
um, okay, that's at least better than land sand gnats, whatever the hell that is. Um, but bottom line is those markets and I've seen some of those fields. Or some of those stadiums. There'd have to be something done there to get it to where they can hold enough fans to be in the USL Championship because some of them just have lawn chairs. It seems like and some grass like our preseason matches did, but um, it's doable. It's doable, and I think it should be done, and I would love for it to be done. So hopefully we see something like that in the future.
Yeah, here, let me show you something. I'm gonna copy this link here, copy image address. Oh, what is going on? There we go. All right, we are back there. So I'm gonna show you something right here. This is properties. There we go. This is a rendering of the new stadium that South Georgia Tormenta FC are building.
Is this the one that's going in like?
This will be open next fall.
Is this the one that's going in like wildland places that people throw a fit about?
No.
Oh, okay.
But no, this is a render. Yeah, this is a rendering of the new stadium that they're building for Tormenta.
Nice.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah. So if they all have something like that, then yeah, it's fine. I know that not all of them do though. So we'll see. But bottom line, I want pro reg, and it is something that's doable. So hopefully that happens.
yeah, I agree. I think it's something that needs to be done. I think it's long overdue. Um, and unfortunately, the MLS and USSF haven't exactly, um, helped with that, which is unfortunate. I think it's something that needs to be done.
Yeah, it's all about the money with them though, and so that's what's going to be tough. So I just I wish it would happen, but our way of doing things in America are just different. So we'll have to see. But uh, it it's it has potential to be really big news, but something actually until it actually starts and we kind of see what's going on there, then we'll just keep doing what we're doing. We'll keep trying to win championships in the USL, and I think we'll be just fine even in the long run here at New Mexico United. To
Oh
our
yeah.
boys, Adam Davis. I don't know what's going to happen to you guys over at Loudon. To who else do we know? I don't think we really know anybody that's a two-team supporter other than Adam, at least not personally.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's good news for him too. Maybe it'll make Loudon a little bit better, a little bit more popular, at least amongst DC fans. But who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, I think the big negative from all this is that you're gonna have you're gonna have supporters of these two teams no longer have a club to support, and I don't think that these teams are gonna have have as much of a following once they do become just a developmental league. And I think that's unfortunate. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have diehards, people like us, maybe guys like Harry and some others that we know that would still watch it if it was available to be seen. But I think that's the biggest net negative from all this is the visibility and the transparency that's going to be out there in regards to it.
Well, the matches are. It's not official, obviously, but it did say something about streaming was the way that they were going to go. So I imagine ESPN Plus, something like that, is an option that they're looking at, and we could expect to see. And to me, the fans of what few fans Tacoma Defiance has, and Loudoun United has, and Atlanta too, and stuff like that. Maybe they can just maybe there's a team in the USL that they had watched while Atlanta was in the USL and think, oh, I really like them, and now that they can just become fans of Louisville or Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Hartford, whoever you want it to be, and maybe the league will still keep those fans and just not have to deal with the two teams in there. So I don't know. Hey, we'll see. I think if you're a fan of your MLS 2 team, then you're probably a pretty big soccer fan, and probably could see watching some Saturday USL games as well.
Yeah, could be. It's I don't know. It's just again, it's gonna be a big wait and see thing, and it's something that we don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know how the leagues are gonna handle it. We don't know the future of this, and so yeah, just a whole big wait and see, and hopefully we hear something before too long in terms of who's going to be in it, who's not going to be in it. Where will the matches be available, and yeah, just can't wait to see what happens with it.
Agreed. Agreed. So I think I'm done on it. Unless you had another topic that you wanted to throw out there, I think we'll close this bad boy down.
Yeah, no, I think we are good.
Awesome, awesome. So Earl, we missed you tonight, buddy. We Seth mentioned at the beginning though, it's nice that we can have somebody sit out. I sat out 2 weeks ago, I think it was, because of the eye infection that I had, or infection around my eye is how I should be phrasing it. And it's nice to have some people that can still hop on and put out some content for you guys, and we love doing it. So hopefully next week Earl will be back, and I'll enjoy this little night off that he can have, and next week, next Tuesday, 9:30 ish, we'll be talking about hopefully another 3 points for United as they travel Friday night to Colorado Springs, aka northern New Mexico, and I think they should come away with 3 points as long as nothing stupid happens. And we'll have some MLS talk probably again still. Their season's kind of ramping back up after the international break. We got Euros 2020 going on right now. We got basketball playoffs. It's a good time to be a sports fan, and we might not go in depth on a lot of things, but we'll definitely talk about it. We'll keep you updated on it, and yeah, we enjoy doing it, and we can't wait to bring you episode 45 next week, which is crazy. It's going to be 45. I think for episode 50, we just we recap the B talk and everything that goes on with that. I've had a new thing that I've been going through is barbecuing. I bought a pellet smoker about a month ago. I know some of you might be coming at me saying pellet smoking isn't barbecue, but you can fuck off because it is. Um, and yeah, so I've watched YouTube video after YouTube video on everything that has to do with anything there, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm all I need is a yard with some grass, and I'll be full-fledged dad mode. Grilling, sports, lawn talk. We'll be right there. So next week, who knows what we're gonna bring? Maybe we'll have a little segment on that. Who knows? Bottom line is, Earl, we missed you, and we'll be back next Tuesday at 9:30 to talk about United and whatever else comes up and whatever else we decided to do. And until next time, catch us on social media. Somos Mas across all platforms, or find us individually to send us encouraging words. No hate mail here. So, till next week, guys. Somos Mas.